You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Shanafelt. Welcome back on air as we continue our Player Spotlight series with the 2020 NFL Draft Class. I'm your host, Chris Shanafelt, and I'm now joined by Christopher Williams, the big 6'2", 308-pound defensive tackle out of Wagner College. Chris, I appreciate you taking some time this evening. Can you believe that your collegiate career has come to an end, and now here you are preparing for a shot at the next level?
I appreciate you having me on. And it is crazy. It flew by. The 4 years definitely flew by.
No doubt. And, of course, this past season, your senior season at Wagner College, registering 62 tackles, 11 and a half tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and a blocked kick. What allowed you to have your best statistical season in your last go-around at the college level?
Definitely my coach. He spent so much time with me trying to get my mind right and me physically right to be able to do these things. And we put in a lot of time and overtime, so that definitely allowed that and just playing with great teammates, honestly.
And your positional coach, Terrence Knighton, a.k.a. Pot Roast, a former NFL defensive tackle, most notably with the Jaguars and Broncos. What's it like learning from him, somebody of that stature, somebody that's played at the highest level there is, which, of course, is somewhere you're ultimately trying to get to?
It's everything a defensive lineman could ask for, honestly. He knows, so much about the game, and not just the defensive line position, but overall defense. So he just makes you so much of a smarter football player, and just not just on the football field, but off the field. He just helps so much with making me a better man.
What are conversations like between you and Coach Knighton when you're talking about the possibilities of playing in the NFL? What advice has he given you as you go through this process yourself?
You just take advantage of every day and just keep stacking days, really. He just his big thing is don't let a day slip away and just keep attacking every day with the most you can.
Yeah, and, just looking back through the years, Chris, you've lined up against NFL-level competition in the past, one of which a former teammate of yours, Greg Sinnott, who, of course, is probably still celebrating that Super Bowl victory with the Kansas City Chiefs. What were those battles like back in the day, going up against somebody like Greg Sinnott, who would turn himself into a 6th-round draft pick, or even Matt Diaz, who got some looks in the league? What were some of those battles like with players of that stature?
It was great to, really at a young in the college career to be able to go against them, because they were so advanced. No matter who you played against, you already know you've seen the best you can get. So it was great to get constant practice reps against them and just learn how to get better against those guys. Definitely on Greg's side, it was crazy to see him come in and try out offensive tackle for a while. And for the first, he was okay at it, and then just week by week, he was getting better and better and better. And then at one point, he just started taking off.
Yeah, crazy athlete. I remember seeing him and actually interviewing him at the NFL Combine. Now he's celebrating the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, we're chatting with 2020 NFL Draft prospect, defensive tackle out of Wagner College, Chris Williams. And speaking of teammates, Chris, what's it been like playing alongside Cam Gill, who of course came off the edge? You two have obviously been one of the top defensive line duos in the FCS over the past couple of seasons. How were you guys able to complement each other so well?
Man, it was the whole D-line. Cam Gill, Tavon Grant, Julian McLeod. Those are the best people I ever played with. They made me so much better and me making them better. We just pushed each other just to be great. And, it made the game so easy playing with them. And that goes ahead with Coach Knight. And he just found ways to make us bond and just get closer together, so that when we went out there on that field, we know we giving everything for the person we got, because we know they try to get to the same place we want.
A couple years ago, Greg Sinnott became the first ever player from the Northeast Conference to play in the illustrious East-West Shrine game. Fast forward a couple years later, and both you and Cam Gill are among some of the best prospects in the country, going at it throughout that week in St. Petersburg, Florida, and in front of all 32 NFL teams. What was that experience like to play in the longest-running college football all-star game there is in the country?
It was great. It was a great experience for sure to see how I stacked up against some of the best. I would give props to my agent for getting me in it. I was able to get in for the last pad of practice in the game, and I was able to show what I had. And I felt like I did a really good job over there. But it was just like amazing just to see athletes from all over college football and be able to play and stack up against them.
Yeah, so talk about how you found out that you're going to get on a flight to Florida and play in this all-star game, because, you know, like you said, you got there just in time for the last padded practice and then the game itself. So somebody must have gone down with an injury, and you must have been on the emergency list. And luckily they reached out to you, and you're able to make it down there and make the most of your opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I just know, like, I came back from training that night, just getting in the house about to heat up a meal, and then my agent called me like, yeah, I just got you to the East-West game. I need you to grab your pads right now, and you might have to get on the flight tonight or tomorrow morning. So I actually ended up getting on the flight the next morning and landing there. And then as soon as I land there, get to the hotel in about 30 minutes, and they go over the playbook with me in probably 20 minutes, so I could also grab lunch before practice. Because practice was like hours right after I landed. So we got there, went over the playbook real quick, which wasn't that difficult. Got to the field, and I just knew when I got on the field, this is my chance. You know, everything happens for a reason. You got to put on now. No time to waste. It was crazy. It was quick, but in this business, you got to be ready, and I was ready.
Perfect story right there. I mean, it seemed like everything happened so quickly, Chris. I mean, when you're getting ready for your senior season and you're thinking about the possibilities of going professional, the two games that really come to mind are the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. So for you to get that late opportunity, I mean, how much did that mean to you?
It meant a lot. It meant a lot because it was a goal I had set preseason to be able to play in one of the top 3 All-Star games and to be there and to compete. It mean a lot to me and my family.
And you also had the opportunity to play in the Hula Bowl, which of course took place in Hawaii. So I mean, St. Petersburg, Florida, Hawaii. Doesn't sound like it gets too much better than that. So, again, you've had a couple of really great opportunities to go up against some of the best competition in the country. Were you able to meet with any teams at either the Shrine Bowl or the Hula Bowl? If so, what was some of the feedback like that you received, and how do you feel teams are currently viewing you as a prospect?
Yeah, I was able to meet with a couple of teams. A lot of them liked what I was doing during the practices that they were there for, and it just, like, at this time, it's just like I'm doing a lot of great things against these competitions in season and the All-Star game. They just want to see me back it up in my pro day, and I absolutely will.
And speaking of pro day, Chris, where are you currently training at for your pro day, and do we have a location set yet for your pro day? Will Wagner College be holding a pro day? Will you try and get into one of the bigger universities' pro days? Any update on that?
I'm training at Parisi Speed School in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, with some great coaches there, and I believe my play will be at Wagner College.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Again, we're chatting with 2020 NFL Draft prospect, defensive tackle out of Wagner College, Chris Williams. And, Chris, just a couple more questions for you, and then we'll let you go. Really do appreciate your time. For those not familiar with your game, what would you say are some of your strengths, and what exactly do you bring to the defensive line?
I mean, you're gonna get a big guy, twitchy, quick, that could play from the 0 to the 9. So I'm very versatile. So you could be able to use me wherever you need to, and I'll do it at a high level. So you really get in a guy that you could throw in anywhere.
You know, Chris, people love comparisons nowadays. Would you say you model your game after a certain current or former player or two?
I mean, I just look at all the great D tackles from now from the past, and it's just like just watching how it's really watching their mentality, because football is football at the end of the day, but seeing how they go about their everyday practices and just hearing about, like, from my coach, how he attacked everything and what his mindset was going into everything, that really helped bring my game to the next level.
And, playing in the Northeast Conference there at Wagner College, it seems like it's a conference that seems to grow year after year, some great competition. Of course, you got Duquesne, you got Sacred Heart, you got some really great programs that seem to be on the up and up. You guys there at Wagner have had success over the years. What's it like playing in the Northeast Conference and being there at Wagner for 4 years? Have you kind of seen it yourself, the conference that is kind of grow and have this upward arrow?
Oh yeah, definitely. One thing about the NEC, that the championship is up for grabs for anybody. There's never like one team that's taken over, because you notice like every single game in a conference game, no matter what the record is, it's always a dogfight. So you could never just sleep on one team. You got to come and attack every game with the same intensity.
There's no parity in the NEC, that's for sure. Yeah. It seems like there's a new winner each and every year there in the Northeast Conference. Who would you say is the best player you've played against over the years? Is there a certain name or two that pops out when looking back at some of the competition you've played up against?
Not really. Like I said, defensive line is a mindset. One of the mindsets is whoever I'm going against is a nameless, faceless, soulless opponent, and they're just in the way of my goals. Me and my team go, so I'm just attacking who's ever in front of me. So that's something I learned from my coach as well too.
Yeah, that is a great quote, and that is a quote that every football player should play with. But like you said, specifically on the defensive line. Final question, then we'll let you go, Chris. Really appreciate your time. It's a question that I end all my player prospect interviews with, and that is, let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're listening to this very interview. Why should they want the big defensive tackle out of Wagner College, Christopher Williams, a part of their team?
Because, like I said earlier, you're going to be able to throw me wherever you need to. But at the end of the day, I'm just another man who's just hungry and want everything this game got to offer.
Well, Chris, I really appreciate you taking the time this evening. Congratulations on all the success throughout your career at Wagner College. Congrats on the opportunity to play in the East-West Shrine Bowl, to play in the Hula Bowl. And, again, really wishing you all the best as now you conquer your pro day in the coming weeks. So, again, congrats on everything, man. Appreciate you taking the time and wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much. And thank you for interviewing me, man. Appreciate it.